All right, welcome everybody to Willow Legal Group's Coffee Chat. I'm going to let Lindsay introduce our guest today.
Today we are welcoming Melissa Rollenhagen Cristal. She is a philanthropy advisor, and she's got experience advancing mission-critical initiatives for both philanthropists and nonprofit organizations. She served as a major gift fundraiser at Yale University for more than a decade, which is more than that's the closest I would have ever gotten to Yale, is knowing her. And she connected families and individuals to giving priorities that resonated with their values and their interests. After she relocated to DC, Melissa led advancements for the Smithsonian for 4 years. She founded Partners in Giving in 2021 to amplify the impact of a donor's personal and financial resources to drive change. So she helps families and individuals make meaningful impact with their philanthropy by translating their interests and values into a vision for giving back. And by showing clients how to give strategically, they can find joy in generosity. When giving is a positive experience, the donors feel like they are gaining when they give, and they can begin to chip away at the world's greatest challenges. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you.
So that's a lot of really prestigious names in there. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I know. So I've known Melissa for a couple years, and one of the things we always joke about is what the heck is a philanthropy advisor? So why don't we start there?
So I work with nonprofits and philanthropists or donors, givers of charitable gifts, and wealth professionals like financial professionals, estate attorneys, regular attorneys, to help people maximize their impact with their charitable giving. So my clients are the people who want to make gifts. You have financial advisors to help you keep your wealth. You have lawyers to help you manage it when you pass away or within their family. But I actually help people give it away in a way that feels good. For financial reasons, for personal reasons, all kinds of reasons that people want to give money to organizations or individuals to further their goals.
Awesome. So I know one of the things that you and I have talked about is just giving in general. And, obviously when you are a multimillionaire or something, it's really easy to be able to give money away. But for people, most of us who are not in that category, how can we incorporate giving into either our regular life or maybe into our estate plan, just to reach some of those goals that you were talking about?
So a lot of people, the most money they give is after they pass away. They work with a lawyer like you and an advisor like me to decide what they want to do and how to do it. I'm sure, talk to people every day about estate taxes. And one of the great ways to reduce your estate taxes is to leave some of your possessions to charitable organizations, even your house. If it's not, you can leave that to a charity. They can sell it and use that as a donation. That's a little more complicated or a little more detailed maybe than what you were thinking. But we always talk about the ways to give as treasure, ties, testimony, talent. I miss a T there. So treasure, you can give money, but you can also give your time as a volunteer. You can give your money or give your house or give something else as your treasure today, but you can also give it later. You can, testimony is sort of the philanthropy way of giving a review. This organization is important to me. They helped me. I supported it. You should support it too. Ties, some of these people, we hear about struggling nonprofits, and it's really true. I mean, some of them are these mega institutions like Yale University, but your average nonprofit is really struggling. If you could introduce them to a lawyer who would do some pro bono work, that's a tie. That's a really important connection. So just, thinking about what you want to do or just who you want to support and say, I don't have a lot of money, but is there something else I can do? Can I help you in other ways? Can I be at your bake sale? Or think of something that interests you. And I guarantee there's a charity out there that does that. I mean, if you like clocks, if you like motorcycles, there's something for everybody. People are starting nonprofits all the time, so I know there's a way you can help.
Yeah. So what are some of the reasons that you hear from your clients or people you work with for wanting to be charitable or for wanting to give? Obviously, yes, there's the tax breaks, but
Sure.
aside from that, what are some reasons?
A lot of it is legacy and thinking about what they're leaving behind for their children in terms of, there's all this stuff you're going to leave behind, but how do you communicate your values? And a lot of people find out their parents' values in ways they hadn't expected after they pass away. Setting up a gift. I had one person, they set up a gift it was a charitable gift, but it was set up to benefit a housekeeper they had as sort of a retirement plan after she worked. Like the kids didn't know he was doing this and that it was going to end when he passed away. And like that, they had no idea that that's a really generous thing to do. And that's really interesting. Or, who knew that grandma supported the Needlework, Society of America for 80 years. We should probably do that too. And it teaches your kids how to give, but like also what's important to your predecessors. And so a lot of people talk about that. And we talk a lot about how to leave your legacy as a parent or as an older person. I had a client who had 4 kids and one of them had a drug addiction. Should he leave the same amount of money to all the kids, knowing that the person with the addiction would just spend it on drugs? Is there legal ways we can sort that out? And I don't know if you guys have worked specifically on a case like that, but there's certainly lots of ways to give and to think about it. A lot of what I do too is navigating families. Families want to do things as a whole. They want to do it as a group, but then they realize, if Thanksgiving is easy, giving $1 million gift really isn't going to be easy, But there's ways to work that out. I worked with a family of 20 people once, and we made everybody happy, and I felt really good about that. So.
Yeah, that makes me think of something too, where you hear about these like family foundations. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing a lot of people don't know exactly what that is. Could you just briefly tell us, like, what is a family foundation, and is that something that we should be thinking about, or maybe there's other avenues?
So I think they really became popular in the 50s, but families would, you accumulate wealth, you have enough for what you need, and you want to give back. So they set up a family foundation, which is sort of a legal nonprofit business in a way. It is, there are legal factors, things you have to remember and things you have to do, but you can give money from that. So you put money in it and it's invested, and then you have more to give back, but you do have to give a certain percentage away. It is a legal thing with the IRS. There's forms you have to fill out and a lot you have to do. I think people jump to that a little too quickly. Dip your toe in the pool. We have what are called donor advised funds, which is that on a much smaller scale. It's like setting up a savings account that you can make charitable gifts to, and there are tax benefits, and it doesn't have all the legal strings attached. And if you, in a couple of years, you want to be Bill Gates and that's gone well, we can talk about a family foundation, but I think that's probably not the way to start for most people.
It's good to know. And yeah, I think we're hearing a lot more about the donor advised funds, and those are becoming more common. I really didn't know what those were until I met you and you told me a little bit more about them. So what are some other ways? I think you've mentioned also just some different ways to give if you don't have millions of dollars. But tell us a little bit about donor advised funds, and if somebody wanted to start, like, how do you set one of those up?
So some of them have a minimum, but when they first came of age, sort of, and we started talking about them, the minimums were very high. But now there's a lot of donor advised funds, and you'll hear me call them DAFs, DAF, donor advised funds, or DAFs, that don't have a minimum or have a low minimum. And some of them require you to spend so much on charity a year. Some of them you can keep your money in there forever. In a month or so, I'm going to have out a comparison of donor advised funds on my website, if that's interesting. But you can set it up as if you would set up a bank account. You don't need a me to do it, but it can help to help you navigate which choice to make, which one to do, and how to set it up. Because if you're doing it just yourself, that's, everything doing yourself is usually easier, but it's also something you could do with a family member. And you can set, after you pass away, the DAF should be managed by my kids, or it should, all the balance that's still in there should go to the Cancer Society. There's a lot of ways you can set it up. They don't have to be complex, but if you can make the decision, you may want to set some parameters that make sense for what you believe in. And again, it's a way to communicate to people what's important to you and what you really want to happen, and have that executed according to your wishes after you pass away. I mean, I'm sure, deal with issues like that all the time.
Yeah.
It's your job.
So, Melissa, if folks come to you, right? So you have a couple of family members that say, we want to pool our money together, or even an individual, right? But I don't know what I want to do, right? I don't know what organizations. Can you help them navigate, like go through kind of a values?
Yeah. So that's usually right. I'm sorry.
I said values evaluation. That's kind of hard to say.
We call it the core values exercise. And yes,
easier.
I think and getting is especially important if you're working with other people to get on the same page with what you want to do. And if you don't want to do the same thing, finding a way to make that work. But before you decide what organizations to give to, sometimes it helps to take a step back and say, what's important to you? Is recognizing grandma the most important thing? Is tax deductions the most important thing? Is keeping it in liberal causes the most important thing? Is it healthcare the most important thing? And coming up with a couple of key words that kind of represent your values can be a starting place for making decisions. I can come up with some suggestions of organizations that you might be interested in, but then we might say, oh, well, this one's national. You only wanted to do local? Okay, well, let's narrow it down. And coming up with some of those core values can help you make decisions about where to go next. And you'll find, oh, that one sounds really good. Maybe local isn't so important to me. This one really resonates with me. So maybe the local isn't so important. So kind of using some of those test cases to figure out where to go next. And you can do that on your own as well.
Yeah. But I think, like we talk to people about DIYing anything, you can spend a lot of time going down a hole and figuring it, like a rabbit hole and figuring it out, right? You can about anything now on your own with YouTube, but having like a trusted advisor, someone who can help walk you through the process.
Well, I think a lot of people avoid charitable giving because it hasn't felt good. I want it to feel good, and I can help you get there. If it doesn't feel good, you're not going to want to do it again. You're giving to, some organization that you don't know anything about because Judy next door asked you to, and you feel guilty, so you did it. Well, I can help you sort of navigate ahead of time. We know Judy's going to come knocking next year, so maybe we decide ahead of time that we're going to make a budget, and if Judy fits in the budget at the end of the year, we'll give her organization some money. But if it doesn't, we've given to the things that are important to us, and sort of navigating those feelings and making it feel good, not guilty, and not like an obligation. So because I sincerely believe if giving feels good, people are going to do it again. And we're really relying on philanthropy to solve some of the world's problems right now. There's all these statistics about, giving releases, oxytocin in your head, in your brain, and it makes you feel good. It gives you feelings of support and connection. And that there are actually biological reasons that people give, and some of the giving makes you happy. Some of the happiest people, we can say they're happy because they're wealthy, but they've actually done studies to control for wealth. It's actually the giving part that makes you happy. I mean, certainly wealth is off the table, and there's certainly a lot of angry wealthy people, but
but along those lines, I mean, if one of your core values or one of your important things that are important to you is that you want to be able to give, the more money you have, the more you can give. And so I totally see how that would relate, because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't feel like you can give the way you would want to. But if you're wealthy,
but I've worked on both sides, and I've been on the nonprofit side too. And as a nonprofit, some days there's nothing you would love more than a volunteer. Like, you don't feel like it's a big deal, but oh my gosh, I just need somebody to help me stuff the envelopes. That can go a long way.
Right. And so, I was speaking strictly financial donations, but yes.
But and if you don't have a lot of money today, a bequest is a great way to give. I mean, there are some wonderful, wonderful stories. There's nothing a fundraiser loves more than a surprise gift that they weren't expecting, and that can be a bequest.
I was just speaking with a client the other day, and she works for a local nonprofit, very, very small nonprofit. And she said they just got a check for $13,000, which was a third of their whole yearly budget. And they have no idea who it came from. They called the people on the check and they won't return calls. And they've looked for obituaries. They have no idea who it is. So they're grateful, but they want to be able to thank this person, and or their family, and they have no idea who it is. So you're absolutely right. So but
that says something about the donor too, that they didn't need the recognition, right? They just gave because it felt good.
Yep. So what inspired you to get into philanthropy?
That's a great question. I wanted to go into marketing. I love thinking about goals and how people, why does an advertisement make you do X, Y, or Z? Why do I suddenly want to go buy chocolate? And thinking about those different ways to motivate people. But it came to a point where I was going to have to go back and get my MBA, and I had met somebody, I made a friend in fundraising at a local college, and she started talking about it. I was like, oh, that's what I really want to do. That's really more than advertising, getting to sit down one-on-one with people and helping them get from point A to point B. You want this. Well, let's find a way to make that work, and make sense of it financially, but also emotionally and values-based, and make sure it makes sense for your family. I love making those connections.
Awesome.
Yeah. So tell us, what's the one piece of advice that you wish more people understood when it comes to charitable giving?
Just there are smart ways to give, tax-wise and financially. There's so many great giving vehicles that don't feel like you're giving anything away. It's I guess a more detailed conversation to get into the individual methods, but sometimes I'm saving people money on taxes by just sharing, what they can do. There's just, and it gets into feeling good about giving. It shouldn't feel like a loss, and I think a lot of people don't realize that when we are asking for gifts, most fundraisers don't want your grocery money, right? There are better ways to give. You can be more generous if we're not asking you to give from your mortgage and your grocery money. So what are those other ways? There's lots of ways to give. So thinking about those, from your IRA and other vehicles that can make sense.
Yeah. And I think even you've said it a couple of times, your time, right? I know we're both on nonprofit boards that are always looking for board members and people, especially if you have a skill set.
Yep.
Finance, people, like the nonprofit world directors could really need people who because no one wants to handle taxes.
Yeah. and there's CPAs out there that are like, oh, this is my calling, right?
Love this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So last question. What's the one item you can't live without in your day-to-day life?
I guess my coffee.
Yeah.
Then you probably hear that a lot, but I was recently on a fitness program and she took out coffee. It's like,
Fire
this isn't going to work.
Fire her immediately.
Yeah.
Or at least ask for some good justifications.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Please send me all the articles that support this.
I'll drink it
Yeah.
black, but you're not taking my coffee.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Thank
Well,
you.
it was great chatting with you. This was a lot
Good
of fun.
chatting with you. All right. Take care.